The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the speakers and not necessarily those of GEB America, Oral Roberts University, or their employees. This program is not intended to offer investment, financial, medical, legal, or any other advice. Viewers should consult a subject matter professional regarding any such matters.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the GEB America podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Gunn. With me today, we have a friend of the network, friend of ours recently, getting to know her, and she is a gym passionate person about helping people live well, a neuropathic doctor, host, founder of Visibly Fit, Wendie Pett.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Wendie.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on. This is a real treat for me.
Well, it's definitely a treat for us as well, and look forward to. I think I see just from our conversations thus far. I think we can see have you come back again and again here. So this could be a regular thing. You never know. Well, let's jump in. I like to say let's start at the beginning, right? Let's start the foundation here. Where would you say what sparked your journey, your passion into the holistic wellness and the faith integration?
Wow. Well, you do want to go all the way back, don't you?
I don't know how far back it started for you, but you could go back a little bit, I guess.
Well, okay, we'll go way back for a second.
Okay.
I grew up in Texas, and I've always been a student of physical culture. I used to teach dance, and I taught aerobics when leg warmers and headbands were cool.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of been in that space. But I moved to Minnesota, and that was a long time ago. But back in 2011, I was in a snowmobile accident. 2003, a horrible snowmobile accident that basically I was going 55 miles an hour and just kind of got off the road because I hit a big chunk of ice, got off the road and tried to regain control of the sled. And I hit a snow-covered culvert that sent me flying through the windshield of the snowmobile, the sled, and I ended up hitting a tree at 55 miles an hour. Yes, so what got me really started was a quote-unquote accident. But, God can make great things out of accidents. And maybe that was just to literally propel me to where I'm supposed to be today. But I ended up with a broken clavicle, torn shoulder muscles, and just a lot of different injuries, and ended up going to the orthopedic surgeon. He wanted to do surgery on my shoulder. I ended up rehabbing my shoulder by doing the exercises that I teach today. And that just kind of was a launching pad, literally, like it propelled me into what I'm doing to help people heal their bodies naturally by just knowing that your body is your gym and that God did design us to be healthy, whole, and complete. But we just need to give it the right tools and protocol in order to heal and repair and get back on track, so to speak. And so that's really the real launching pad was that 2003 snowmobile accident. And so from then, I've written books. I have fitness DVDs. I've done television for years and years, and I have podcasts. Recently did 200 episodes, so I'm excited about that. And it's just been quite a journey. It really has. And I'm so grateful for that quote unquote accident. I really am.
So obviously coming through that, and wow, I mean, God's hand obviously was on you in that growing healing process for sure. Was there a time along the healing journey, obviously past the point where you started and kind of took on that desire to kind of use the rehab, which by the way, I was a former athlete too. I know, there's rehab, a lot of things that you can do, but that's amazing to really lean into the faith. So how did faith in the midst of it, right? Like you can look back and know and see God definitely had his hand on there, but how did in the middle of that, the faith side of it come into play for you in the rehab process?
That's a great question. I think, knowing that how powerful God is and how he is the ultimate physician and he is the ultimate healer. I just put a lot of faith into knowing that our bodies are meant to heal. And so maybe I was a little stubborn, but I know it was a lot of faith as well. And I could have gone to that, had surgery like the orthopedic surgeon suggested, but I knew there was a better way. And so I'm grateful that I listened, and I'm grateful that I was disciplined and really just kept with that perseverance kind of attitude in order to rehab my body, because that's really led me down the road to helping so many people rehab and heal their bodies through similar modalities that I use for myself. And so the faith was something I don't know that I really recognized at the time that I really had, but I know it was this faith, like, God, I know you're going to heal me. I know you are capable. And so there's something so beautiful about just knowing that you know, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's just where I was. Yeah.
I love that, and I think that's a good one for our listeners and those who are watching. Maybe someone's watching here on YouTube, or you're listening on Pray.com, or different platforms we're on, and you heard this and you thought, "Gosh, I don't know if I could say that I had faith in something," but yet if you look back and realize that if God is the focus and He's the source and He's the healer, and you believe in Him, well, that is faith, right? And believing in the moment of what He can do. And sometimes it's in the hardest parts that we walk through, whether it's a physical injury. I know you talk about this too. Is like sometimes we go through not something that's physical as much as it is mental or a mindset belief. So talk a little bit about how you've seen that process for people, bringing them out of not just the physical side, but also belief and the mental focus.
Yeah. Well, I would say that a lot of my patients that I worked with over the years, I feel like all of us, quite frankly, have our little kids trapped in adult bodies. Like we have so much that we have not processed through. And it's so important to heal mind, body, and spirit and emotionally in order to really be whole and complete so that God can use us to our fullest capacity. And so a lot of the patients that I'm working with are stuck in a belief system. And I've been there myself, so I'm not immune from that as well. I've had my moments. I've had those dark nights of the soul moments, but it's like, are you going to stay there? Are you going to stay in that dark place where maybe dramas and traumas have put you? Or are you going to rise up and be the person that God has called you to be, and really be, in a place of receiving His love and understanding the power of forgiveness, right? And that's where it really starts to take shape. It's not mustering it up on your own, which
Yep.
I've been guilty of myself, thinking, I've got this, we can do this. But it's really in that surrender. It's in that forgiveness. It's in that letting go piece that God can work miraculously in and through us. And so that's what I would say, is that a lot of people are just really suffering from old wounds that need to be healed, and part of that just comes from that forgiveness and surrender piece. And then you can start taking actions
Yeah.
to get healthy.
That's so good. I think that's when you said that you're describing that to me, it also made me think of we need to forgive others, but also there's a moment too, sometimes we might be forgiving ourselves and forgiving maybe choices that we'd made based upon surroundings, based upon situations. I know turning to food, I've done a little bit of coaching myself as well in the physical space. And so I know that a lot of times people will go through a trauma and they'll turn to food as a source of comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And so, letting yourself walk through what was the initial instance, maybe of cause of trauma point, but also what was the choices that you made as a coping mechanism, and forgiving yourself for that and making a shift and a switch to believe that you can be different. What are some of the things you've seen and maybe with some of your clients in that kind of a situation?
Well, I'm going to be vulnerable and very just in a humble state right here and just talk about something that I went through personally,
Yeah.
and that because it doesn't match who I am today. And I just want someone to maybe be encouraged that God can turn any of your dark stuff into good. And it doesn't matter where you are and what you're suffering through, whether it's, using those counterfeit comforts like the food. For me, it was alcohol, which is so bizarre, but I'd gone through a divorce and I was just trying to fill the void in my heart, and I was lonely and I was sad and I was depressed and I didn't know what to do. And I just was in a bad place for just a short while. But if we come to the end of ourselves, then that's when God can just really transform us in a great way. So coming to the end of ourselves and realizing that those counterfeit comforts will never comfort us. They will never get us through what the enemy has meant to harm us. But God is going to get us over that and through into a better place. If we just surrender, put down the unhealthy food, put down the alcohol, put down the pornography, put down the overspending, put down the gossip, all the things, like everything is equal in God's eyes, right?
Yeah.
So
Point.
it's knowing who we are in Christ,
Yeah.
and seeing ourselves through the lens that God sees us through, and starting to love ourselves. And again, like you said, forgiving ourselves is the biggest piece of that equation. So with my patients, I mean, I've got so many stories to share, but I wanted to be vulnerable and share that one because I think sometimes when people look at experts in a field or whatever, they think, they've got it all together. They've never had a problem. They've never had to deal with what I've had to go through. Don't believe the lie. Most people have gone through their dark nights of the soul. And so I just wanted to make that aware and make that known.
That's good. That's really good. My friend who I've done the coaching with on his journey, his place of the passion pursuit of helping people came out of a trauma and a hard place for him. And so I know that was, and for me, it was, my dad passing way too early in life. And so there's a desire to not be that, right? To be different. And so, yeah, I think another thing that I've had my pleasure of talking with mentors in my life, and one of the ones that's stuck with me is we look at people, to your point, we look at people and put them on a pedestal just because they're maybe in a position of expertise, of learning. And so then there's a platform they can speak into. We put them and make them be this pristine, statue, if you will. Mm-hmm. And one of the words that my friend said, he says, remember, everybody that you get close to that's in a position of a platform, they all have clay feet.
That's right.
And I thought, whoa, like that. And that has carried me because you get around, I had a chance to be around leaders, around, people that others, oh my gosh, they're all clay feet. They're all our people. We're all on the journey and we're all seeking after him to get better. So if you're listening and watching right now, I want to encourage you that this is your moment, that this time here, you're listening, you're watching this as your chance to shift something in your life to be better, to be the best version of you. And Wendie's here to encourage us and to bring health, health concepts maybe. And let's jump in a little bit too on that. This like visibly fit. How do you define visibly fit, and what does that look like in someone's life?
Yeah, that's great. So Visibly Fit is about being fit mind, body, spirit, and emotionally. And some people are like, well, how can you visibly see that? Oh, you can. You can see if someone is mentally well or emotionally well. And it shows up not just outwardly, but also internally. Proverbs 4:23, I wrote it down because it's been a while. But above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. I think about how everything that we do flows out of our heart. And so literally, our heart is flowing blood through 60,000 miles of blood vessels, right? And you think about 60,000 miles of blood vessels. That's crazy talk. Like, God is so amazing. To deny that there's a God, for anyone to ever deny that when you see the intricacies of our body, is just mind blowing to me. But you think of 60,000 miles and how that would basically be someone that would be driving around the equator of the earth twice. I mean, that's a lot of blood vessels. And so out of our heart really flows everything that we think, that we feel, that we do or don't do. It affects our body all the way to the cellular level. And so Visibly Fit is very visible to someone looking at you, to how you're operating in your community, how you're operating in your family, and just how you're operating in just your own body and just in your own, whether it's your giftings or your career, whatever, you can see if you are visibly fit or not. And so my goal is to get people more onto a place of more of a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, and mainly because over all of my years of studies as a naturopath and doing what I've done for so many years, I have seen people's lives change dramatically within a matter of weeks when they remove the foods and the drinks and all the things that maybe they were consuming and the unhealthy emotions. When they start to remove all of that from their body that has been triggering those inflammatory markers to be turned on, man, their body starts to change. The unhealthy weight starts to release, and they get off medications and they start coming alive again. They have energy. They have clarity of mind. I just love seeing people respond in such a great way. I was actually just at an event a couple of weeks ago, and one of the gentlemen that was at this event, he said, "Oh my goodness, I've had like eczema on my forehead for a long time, for many years. But in 3 days, eating this way and moving my body in such a way, it's gone. It's gone in 3 days." And so it's like, wow, okay, the power of food, God-given food, right? And so anyway, so it's whole food plant-based. I teach people again to use their body as their gym. So a lot of the exercises that I use to rehab my body after that snowmobile accident, I do today. And it's all mind muscle connection. It's a lot of like moving isometrics and isometrics. It's kind of foreign to a lot of people, but there's great power in it because you can build muscle and shed unwanted, unhealthy weight, and it doesn't put stress on your joints, tendons, and ligaments. And that's huge, especially as we are becoming more mature in years. We want to be gentle to our body, but yeah, there's great power in that. And I help my patients walk through the mental space and obviously the spiritual space of healthy living. So
That's
it's an
great.
honor.
And yeah, I could add again, having coached for a few years myself, I understand the isometrics, and I think that a lot of times even plyo and iso, you get both of those combined. I think is a great. I see that a lot. A lot of cases people come in there, I can't lift 40 pounds. That's okay. Like take a band. Just use body weight, use a band, use just resistance on things. And you can do that a lot easier. And, not trying to get people out of the gym, but I'm just saying like you can do it no matter where you are and what you're doing a lot easier if you just use motions and those kind of things you're talking about.
That's right.
So that's great. I love that.
Well, and also, Stephen, I'm sorry to interrupt, but a lot of people
go ahead.
think that they have to have a big chunk of time to work out in their day. And that's really not the case. If you've got, 3 to 5 minutes, insert jumping jacks or just something simple that will get the heart rate going. Take a walk around the block. Just something is always better than nothing. So I think that's a misconception.
The theme that we talk about in our group is winning the day or winning your day, winning all day is the thing he says. But I think there's finding those little winning moments, right? Is what you're saying, and it's finding if you have time that you're like, oh, I could go scroll my phone, or I could do some push-ups or some jumping jacks, or even a wall sit, leaning against the wall and going down and, doing stuff like that, helps engage the body and your mind. People, I have found that too, is that even myself, like you realize when you put your focus in on like, okay, I'm doing a wall sit, I'm gonna focus on my abs. Like I'm thinking about my abs engagement with it. Like you actually get more out of it because you're focusing on that. And it's a very simple thing to do, but it's something that challenges you and you go, wow, I got that in there. Now you can go on to your next thing, get back to your project you're working on, or the kids around in the house, or whatever it is, and then the next, an hour later, you have another little brief moment, do another little segment like that. So I think that's a great idea.
Absolutely. And the body actually starts to atrophy just after 20 minutes of not working against gravity, according to Dr. Joan Vernikos, who worked with the astronauts in their anti-gravity training. And so if that's the case, we need to work against gravity. So if you're standing all the time, do some just calf raises or some squats. Or if you're sitting, stand up. It's really simple stuff like that. That's like, oh, yeah, I need to quit sitting all day. And yes, you have permission. Go take a bathroom break. Like people tend to work and work and work, and they don't stop to eat. They don't even go to the bathroom. It's ridiculous. So, yeah.
You made me think about those in the elementary teacher world that are going, just tell us how we can do that, because sometimes finding a break from all those kids is crazy. David would appreciate that too. But so you've described the shift for you physically and spiritually, and obviously the lifestyle change and the rehab. So somebody right now, they're listening or watching, what would you say to them in terms of making that shift? What's the first step in making a change in their life?
I think the first step is having a really deep-rooted why. Like, why do you want to shift? Why do you want to change? Not just, because I've got vacation in a couple months. I mean, that's nice, but that's not going to be long-term. What's the deep-rooted why that would propel you to change? Is it you've got grandkids and you want to be able to be around for a long time with them, or your kids, or whatever it is? Start to paint the picture of what does your future self look like if you continue on the path that you're on for the next 10 years or 20 years. And is that how you want to live? Or start to future pace yourself and being an active person and someone who's eating life-giving foods. How does your life look different? And how do you show up differently for not just yourself, but those around you? And really, when we are taking care of our body, I mean, this is the temple that houses the Holy Spirit. So this is it's an act of worship if we look at it that way. Not in an idolatry kind of way, but it's like we're giving back to the Lord. We're like saying, thank you, Lord, for this body that you've given me, this mind, this spirit. I want to nurture it all and point it back to you. And so if we could look at it more like that, I think it'd be helpful. But that's the first thing, is really knowing your why and then making a decision. And then we've probably heard this before, but you make a decision and you make the decision work, right? You just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think most human beings are wired to want to take the path of least resistance. And we get stuck in that pleasure trap and just that, just that comfortable place. You've got to go against the grain for a little while until that becomes a habit. And then it becomes more of a comfortable thing for you. But getting out of our comfort zone isn't always, quote unquote, easy in the beginning. I wouldn't say it's hard. I would just say it's different. And so it's, again, making that decision because your why is that strong that it's going to propel you.
I've heard it said several times that you can choose your difficult, right? You can either choose to be hard to get up out of bed because you're not feeling great, or it's hard because you got out of bed and you went to the gym or you went to your room and you did your workout, whatever it was, and took that time to give it to yourself. They're both hard, but one hard is going to have a better benefit results. The question I think you mentioned, well, you didn't say it, but it came to mind as you said this, was the power of what if, right? What if today I made the right choice? What if I made this choice the next day and the next day? And maybe starting with the why is what if I showed up for my kids different? What if I showed up for my wife or my husband or wife's different? What if I, and then you flip it and go, okay, what if I don't? What if I don't change? What is that view of what I wanted to do? How does that differ from what I don't do? And so I love that. I love that is, I think the power of what if. David Goggins, who is in the health, military, and not recommended for the choice of language he has. So just
the F-bombs.
Choose to listen to it. Yeah, I'm just clarifying that for our listening audience. I'm not recommending that as a normal diet of things to listen to, but there's some really good nuggets he has, and that's the what if question. You find yourself in a hard place. You're trying to do something. You're trying to do a workout. You're trying to do something that's like, what if I just try to get this next one complete? And what if I just did this next rep or this next exercise? And you just kind of keep moving yourself forward. And before you know it, you're looking back going, gosh, I've done this for a day, 3 days, 5 days, a year, whatever.
Right. I have to give you a quick example because I think it was Mel Robbins, who's another one that does a little F-bombs here and there, but I think she's great. So I don't know. She said something about push-ups one day. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to start doing push-ups right when I get out of bed. I'm just going to give thanks to the Lord. Thank you for my life. Thank you. And thanks for the day. And then I roll out of bed and I do push-ups. I'm not even awake yet. My husband's like, where did you go? And I'm like, oh, I'm down here doing push-ups, But I've been doing this for 2 years now, over 2 years. And so I'm like, that's the power of an everyday, just do it. Just show up, even when you don't feel like it. Even when I've been not feeling my best, I get down and do push-ups. I may not do as many as I would if I were feeling strong and healthy, but I get down and do it. So they say, even if you just drive to the health club and walk in, and maybe don't work out, but at least you showed up. And more than likely, you're going to work out if you've gone that far, right? So just show up, suit up and show up.
That's good. And I'm guessing when you started the first day one of that push-ups, you probably didn't do 50.
No, I didn't.
You probably just did a few, right? And just in the next stage, did a few more. That's and then you're sore and you're like, oh gosh, okay, can I do one?
Yeah. We'll just do an isometric hold today.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep it right here. Oh, I love that. That's good. Yeah. That's good. So that's a good challenge. I like that. There's a good group I support. I connect with a lot of military, and unfortunately, those in the military know that the suicide rate there is far too high.
My son's in the military.
Some challenges to draw awareness to that, and we did a push-up challenge. Well, it was 2,200 push-ups in a month, and that sounds like a crazy number, right? But here at the office, we just did hourly. We just dropped down to 20 push-ups, and then another hour did 20 more push-ups. And next thing we know, we're like, I got like 100 or whatever through the day. It's like, well, gosh, you do that 22 days out of the month, then there's your 2,200. ended up doing 4,400 that one year. But I did
That's
that.
fantastic.
It's just, but people go, how, that's crazy, right? No, well, it is if you don't think about it in bite-sized chunks,
Right.
right? And so that's what I would say too, is that someone that wants to do 5 push-ups, okay, well, let's start with 1, right? Start today with 1, and then do tomorrow with 1 until you can actually do it without like thinking you're gonna fall over, and then do 2, or then 3, and then now
And maybe
your
it
goal
starts with on your knees first for some people.
yeah,
Before
exactly.
they're on their toes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Just go with where you are.
That's a great point, is that just because you see somebody do a perfect military push-up doesn't mean that's where you're at. We talk about finding a way to win for where you're at, not what somebody else is doing, and so that's our encouragement today, is that you can win. You're listening and watching this, you can win today for you, and you can make a decision to do something today to help yourself be better. Let's pivot here a little bit. Let's talk about a little excitement for you. Congratulations on reaching over 200 episodes and counting on your podcast.
Thank you.
That's exciting. So I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. What would you say keeps you inspired to keep going each week with your podcast?
Obviously, I mean, it's just the stories I get from people, and just how they're encouraged and they're inspired, and they're like, wow, you're helping me to keep going. And so just the different guests that I have on. I mean, I've got some solo shows too, but it's just, it's not for me, it's for the listener. So I'm just honored to be able to do it and offer the content that can inspire and give people hope.
Yeah, I love that. What would you say maybe some would come to mind at some of the stories from the guests that you've heard that have really helped shape your ministry, your own personal growth?
Oh boy. Gosh, I'm going to have to look back. There's so many guests I've had. And remember, Visibly Fit, it's all mind, body, spirit, emotion. So I've had people all across the gamut. Yeah. But gosh, which one really sticks out? My goodness, you really put me on the spot.
I'm sorry. It's okay. No, you've had so many good ones. It's hard to narrow it down.
Honestly, Stephen, yes, I've had so many good ones. It is hard to narrow down, but every one of my guests, I've really had some incredible nuggets that I've been able to take away personally that has inspired me as well. So go and give the Visibly Fit podcast a listen for yourself. Yeah. Maybe you can pick out your favorite.
Well, I'll just say I just came across this morning in my preparation, just being fully transparent. But I did subscribe, and I was interested by some of the titles of the last, since your 200th one. I was looking, I think it's like episode 201 or 202. Was just talking, I think, about gut health and just things about having to transform that is so many that people, I think it was like the foods people eat that rob them from from their health or hitting their goals or whatever. What was some of maybe the nuggets out of that one that you remember?
First of all, a lot of people don't think about their gut microbiome very much, right? And gut health. And so there's so often that if we could understand that if we were feeding our body better for a healthy gut microbiome, then we would be able to think more clearly. We would be able to drop unhealthy weight. And what does that mean as far as the foods that we should be eating? It would be those God-given foods, those dark leafy greens, the legumes, the nuts, the seeds, those kind of things that will help to have a healthy gut colony of bacteria, if you will, and to work better for us. But we also need other things, not just the things that we ingest as far as our food is concerned. We need vitamin D. We need to be out in the sunshine. We need to be able to have good sleep hygiene and get good quality rest, because that's when our body starts to repair and heal, is at night. And so a lot of times it's not just a one thing, it's a multiple layers of things that might need to change, because it's a lifestyle of being healthy. So I think that's not really fully answering your question, but that's a good episode to listen to, because the gut microbiome is so important. It really is.
Yeah, no, it's a recent one. I know I think you're well past 204, 205, something like that already.
Yeah, so. Fermented foods.
Cranking along. So that's good. So how can somebody? Let's go ahead and hit that. So how can somebody get a hold of your information, your website? Just give them all the details of that before we go past that.
Thank you, Stephen. Well, first of all, they can go to wendiepett.com, which is WENDIEPETT.com. And some of the exercises that I was explaining about mind-muscle connection and exercises that help to heal my injury quickly are on that website, and they can get them for free. Also, I give like a week's worth of a whole food plant-based meal plan and just kind of a layout there. So that's something free they can get. If they're interested in my actual program, they can go to getvisiblyfit.com. I have a 7-week course, and we have coaching every week. It's where they get meal plans, grocery list, recipes, the workouts, and all of the training modules that really help them with the knowledge of knowing not just, how to do something, but the why behind it and the science. That's really important to keep us on track for our best health. So they could go there for that. And also just go check out the podcast, the Visibly Fit podcast, and subscribe like Stephen did. Thanks for subscribing, Stephen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. Well, so if you've listened, you saw this, something jumped out at you, thought, man, I need this, or I know a friend of mine needs to hear this. Share it with them, pass it on to them, let them know they can get maybe the 7-day plan, they can get maybe a just free resource, or maybe they just need to be encouraged. Maybe hear the story of how, we're all on the journey of trying to be our best and be, honor God with our bodies and honor God with who we are, the gifts He gives us. I want to thank Wendie for being here with us today. It's been a joy and a treat. And like I said, I could see us having some more conversations down the road again. I can maybe hit on some key things along the journey. If you'd like to come back, I think we'd love to have you.
I would be honored.
So we'll do that. And I'm going to actually wrap up here in just a second, but we want to have a little fun. And so this is, we call it our kind of end of the road popcorn. We just have some fun questions. These are just random, sporadic. And so one of our favorite things, and I'll actually play off of the food conversation because you've already talked about that. What is one of your favorite foods that you like to eat?
I like kale.
Kale. Okay.
I like to do a kale stir fry. Actually, I like stir fries in general, but kale with onions and dried cranberries and anyway, pine nuts. So good. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. I'm getting hungry now. And okay, so let's see here. Where have you gotten to travel? You gotten to travel anywhere fun that you like? Really favorite place you got to travel to?
Well, we travel quite a bit, my husband and I, and we're actually getting ready to do a big riverboat cruise, which is pretty exciting. Budapest to Amsterdam, so that's fun. But one of my most memorable trips was a year ago. We went to Pakistan, and that's for a whole other podcast episode to tell you why.
Yes.
It was powerful.
That's good.
Yeah,
I want to hear about that. That's awesome. Well, that'll be a good segue to our next comeback with that one. I love it. Let's see. Okay, I know. So you've had the chance to meet, again, now I'm trying to put you on the spot in terms of like a favorite, but something that just has meant something to you in your life. Or somebody you had the chance to meet somebody or talk with somebody that really imparted something into your life that you didn't expect it to have that kind of lasting impact.
There's been a lot of people I've had the privilege of being in contact with that have imparted some pretty incredible things in my life. So I feel grateful. But I will say my spiritual father, who I actually met at NRB years ago as well. NRB has been a gift to me on so many levels. I met my husband there. I met my best friend there. Like NRB has been kind of a funny connection. But my spiritual father that I met, 20 years ago, just really has continued to impart just God's love and truth in me, and I just remember how kind he was and just direct, which sometimes we need that. But yeah, he's just I think my spiritual father, his name is Jerry Hobbs.
Cool, that's wonderful.
You might know that name, but yeah,
I've heard the name I think before. Yeah, it's good, wonderful. What a blessing that is. I love it. What is something you're super excited about for the coming year?
I'm going to be a GG. So, so we just found out, and baby is due in January. Super excited. Yes. My son and his wife, they're both in the Space Force, so they're in the military.
Okay.
And just super excited for them and for us.
That is wonderful. Congratulations to the whole family. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to wrap it up with that. That's a great way to segue, I think, as a good high point for being a upcoming grandma. That's awesome. And if you've listened to this, it's been a blessing. Please share it with somebody, subscribe, follow us, and check out the other content we have. And remember to help others around you be encouraged and live well, spirit, mind, and body. And we'll see you next time on the GEB America podcast.